Hey folks, Mr. Justin here with Secret Weapon Miniatures, and I'm bringing you another 2-minute tutorial. Today I'm going to look at a quick way to create a dust effect, a light dust effect. What I have in front of me is the turret of a Warlord Games Sherman. Really recommend their models. I love the Warlord Games tanks. Bolt Action is also a great game. What else I have in front of me, of course, are 3 of my yellowish pigments. I've got Burning Sands. I'm going to take my palette knife and just get a small bit of that. We're going to do this using an alcohol wash. So I'm just getting roughly equal parts of all 3 of these because I'm not going to blend it very well when I make my wash. They'll separate a bit when I apply it. And of course, a bit of isopropyl. I've got my isopropyl in my airbrush cleaning bottle here. Kind of mix it around, see if I need a bit more alcohol. Looks like that's going to be good for me. Consistency is a tricky thing. I know I'm going to get some questions about, how thin should it be, how thick should it be, how much pigment. Really depends on the area you're working on. Obviously, turret this size, I'm not going to use very much of it. Most of that pigment's going to wind up going to waste, so I'm going to use as little as possible. The larger the project, the more you're going to need. Same thing with the amount of alcohol when you're making an alcohol wash like this or a water wash like this. The amount you need is going to vary depending on how thick you want the pigment to go on. The thinner the wash, the less pigment's going to be applied every time you touch it to the model. The more pigment you use, obviously the heavier the pigment effect is going to be. So I'm just kind of poking it together. I'm not trying to blend it. And I'm going to take my yellow pigment mix here, make sure the camera is on screen, and I'm going to take a reasonably fine brush. I'm going to apply it just around the spots where I'd want my dusty pigment to gather. I actually use this kit in most of my vehicle weathering classes. Like I said, I'm a big fan of this kit and the Warlord game stuff in general. Got some great new plastics coming too. So, just putting the pigment where I want it. I can do, in fact I will over here in the back of the turret, just for effect. I'm going to go ahead and apply a thin layer all over that area. And I'm going to pull it back to where I want it. It'll act a bit like a filter since some of that pigment's going to stay behind. Wiping this off screen here on a towel. So where we are right now, you can see the alcohol pooling and all of those recesses around all of the features. I can wick some of that out now if I want to, but I'll have an easier time after I hit it with a blow dryer, which I'm going to do. Sorry for the noise, folks. Generally not a good idea to hit this with a blow dryer. I'm using isopropyl to speed up the drying time, but I still don't want you guys to have to sit through the whole thing. So here we are, reasonably dry. Let me hit that one more time. And right away you can see, let's get a little more light on that for you. You can see how the pigment is sitting neatly around each of the details where I put it, and you can see a little bit of that pigment filter. Might not show up well in the camera here. You can see that it's a slightly different color. So some of that yellow created a filter here out of the dust color, created a nice pooling around the antenna mount there, around all the features here. If it gets to be a little too much, take your pigment wash, set it aside, get a fresh cup of isopropyl or water or whatever thinner you happen to be using. Get some of that in there. Take your brush, make sure it's clean, clean off that excess, and you can actually get in and subtract some of that. Probably don't want to be putting this on my hand, so I'll use my paper towel. How about I bring this back on camera for you? Sorry about that. So I'm just using a bit of isopropyl to clean off the excess. Again, if you're using acrylic under here, this happens to be an enamel, but if you're using an acrylic, remember that isopropyl is an incredible paint stripper. It's what I use to get acrylic off of all of my models. Not simple green, it's certainly not brake fluid. Just going to clean some of that off, especially around that little dot right there. And there it is. So again, you can see very, very quickly I can get in, I can apply dust just around the details where I want it with a quick, simple alcohol wash. You can use water. Even with acrylic though, I do typically use isopropyl when I'm just doing pin washes like this. detail washes to create the spots where I want them on the vehicle or figure for some pigment action. And that's it. It's really that simple. Any questions? You can find me at Mr. Justin at secretweaponminiatures.com, and I'll be back with another 2-minute tutorial. Thanks for watching.